Shalom to the elect of Israel, to the hopeful elect of Israel, you Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indian, and Haitians. Gotta give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, the Most High, the Heavenly Father. His name is Yahweh, not Yahweh, not Jehovah, not Allah, not Elohim, not Ahaya, not God. It's Yahweh. His only begotten son name is Yahweh Shai, not Yahshua, not Yeshua, not Jesus Christos, not Jesus Christ, not Serapis Christus, not Yeshaya. It's Yahweh Shai. So God, I give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rekah, Korash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, who teach well, and a sincere salutation to all the Archon pushing this truth and believing this truth throughout the four winds of the earth, the entire world, waking up the hopeful elect. And shalom to the Akwaf who are listening and learning, the few sisters who are listening and learning. I'm Isaiah, coming at you another lesson in truth, facts, faith, and edification, another daily edification. Lord's willing, this be edifying. This is another update on pestilences, uprising of the people, destruction, the fall of the wicked, the destruction of 2/3 of Israel. Lord willing, be edifying.
To embrace the possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom and their predictions of the apocalypse. They are the heirs of yesterday's foolish fortune tellers, and I have them, and you have them, and we all have them. And they want to see us do badly, but we don't let that happen. They predicted an overpopulation crisis in the 1960s, mass starvation in the 70s, and an end of oil in the 1990s. These alarmists always demand the same thing: absolute power to dominate, transform, and control every aspect of our lives. We will never let radical socialists destroy our economy, wreck our country, or eradicate our liberty. America will always be the proud, strong, and unyielding bastion of freedom. In America, we understand what the pessimists refuse to see: that a growing and vibrant market economy focused on the future lifts the human spirit and excites creativity strong enough to overcome any challenge.
You hear the pride of their heart? The pride of their heart have deceived them, man.
To embrace the possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom.
Okay. Well, what about this?
Financial markets in Asia have mostly steadied out today after a week where the coronavirus outbreak triggered huge losses around the world. The number of new cases reported by China has dropped sharply, but the epidemic is still spreading rapidly in other countries. The total number of infections around the world now exceeds 89,000 people. More than 3,000 have died. Indonesia and several other countries are reporting their first cases. Officials in Italy, the worst-hit country in Europe, said the number of people infected with the virus jumped by 50% to nearly 1,700.
Not a tourist in sight. The canals of Venice without its famous gondolas. No sound of fans cheering in Milan's football stadium either. Across Italy, 5 major matches have been postponed due to the coronavirus. As new infections climb dramatically in Europe's worst-hit country, the Italian government is imposing more drastic measures. Army checkpoints control quarantine areas in some regions, and emergency aid has been promised to the sectors hardest hit by the rapid spread of the virus. In France, tourists line up outside the world's most visited museum, the Louvre, on Sunday, in vain. They were not allowed in the building after the museum staff voted to keep its doors shut due to fears of contamination from the flow of tourists.
I want to go to see the Mona Lisa. the painting, but unfortunately it's closed. So I'm a bit disappointed.
The French government has banned gatherings of more than 5,000 people, closing down trade fairs and large sporting events. Even though a half marathon in Paris was officially called off, hundreds of runners defied the ban and ran the full course.
I'd signed up to take part in the marathon, and since I had nothing to do this morning, I thought I might as well go and run. It was my goal, and if I can do it, why not? We have to stop all this paranoia with what's happening. We have to keep things in perspective.
In recent days, the US, Australia and Thailand have reported the first deaths on their soil. But with more than 50 deaths, Iran has the world's highest toll outside of China. The epidemic is impacting businesses and daily life and shaking the country's already struggling economy.
People are panicked a little, and the stress has led to a drop in sales. People have also become more hygiene obsessed and buy less food from bakeries, restaurants and caterers.
As markets around the globe take a hit, some countries are more vulnerable than others.
Let's talk about the economic consequences now with Gerhard Elfers from DW Business. Hi, Gerhard.
That's for me.
Last week was pretty bad for the global markets. What's the picture like today?
Well, it's a bit better today. Asian markets have recovered. Also, European markets have opened slightly up. The FTSE is up 2%. But it was a slaughter last week. $5 trillion have been wiped off shares. That's 5,000 billion US dollars. It's quite unbelievable, and it's not going to be the end of it. There's a study out. It says that if this pandemic lasts another 6 months, which is quite likely, it will wipe $1.1 trillion off global GDP growth. So it is pretty serious, even though there's a slight recovery today.
Okay, so what are governments and central banks doing to offset these losses?
Well, they've just only begun.
Jeremiah 28:8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence. Okay? Hey, man. The doors and windows, hey, when you read Ecclesiastes 12:3, man, everything about this place is finna collapse, man. Everything about the world economic system is finna collapse, man. Ecclesiastes 12:3. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. And the doors shall be shut in the streets, when the sound of the grinding is low. Everything is coming to a halt, man. Everything, man.
Begun to put things into motion, and there's not so much
the gold and silver is canker.
They can do, because it's mainly a supply chain issue that is hitting world trade at the moment. China is the world's workshop. There's hardly any big company that does not manufacture something in China, gets parts from China, raw materials from China. So that makes it difficult. One rather striking example: Jaguar Land Rover in the UK, the car maker, has actually sent employees by plane to China to hand carry parts back to Britain because the supply chain is so disrupted. And what governments can do, of course, Germany has said it will make money available. Germany has a big surplus, so it is rich enough to do that, to help the economy. Italy is slightly different. They have said they put 3.6 billion to the side to help the Italian companies that are affected, but Italy doesn't have that much money anyway, so it's slightly different. And central banks, of course, can do something.
Hey, this is beautiful, man. Hey, this is beautiful, man. This place is collapsing, but they want to call the apostles and elders and the younger disciples perennial prophets of doom.
Right to the latest on the coronavirus emergency.
That's right. Overnight, a second person dying from the virus in the United States, a man in his 70s
who had underlying health issues passing away in the Seattle area. Another victim, also in Washington state, a man in his 50s.
At least 3 new states are now reporting cases: New York, Florida, Rhode Island, and the number of cases growing in California, Washington state, and Illinois. There are now 80 cases in the U.S., more than 89,000 worldwide. Coronavirus cases are now being reported in at least 60 countries, 8 added to the list just this past weekend, including Mexico and the Dominican Republic.
And we have team coverage of the spreading emergency. Kaylee Hartung starts us off in Kirkland, Washington, which is now being considered the epicenter of the outbreak here in the United States. Good morning.
That's why I said, man, last week, well, about a couple weeks, I guess the last week or a week ago, 2 weeks ago, this is the same thing when you watch the movie Resident Evil, man. Okay? It's the same thing, man.
Kaylee.
Good morning, Amy. No hospital in the country is currently treating more people with coronavirus than Evergreen Health here in Kirkland. And now we're learning of research that suggests this deadly virus has been quietly spreading across Washington state for the past 6 weeks.
It's a quietly spreading, man. Hey, the Georgia Guidestone, they trying to maintain humanity at 500 million.
Through people who didn't even know they were infected.
Overnight, a second death in the U.S. as the number of confirmed cases of coronavirus across the country continues to rise. 2 people in the Seattle area have died after contracting the virus. 2 men, one in his 50s, another in his 70s, both with underlying health issues, who had not recently traveled abroad.
What we're seeing is the tip of the iceberg.
A state of emergency issued in Washington state where 13 patients have been diagnosed with COVID-19, including a postal worker and a high school student. This nursing home in Kirkland, the source of 6 of the confirmed cases. Health officials say at least 50 more patients are being evaluated.
We've just seen another person loaded up into this ambulance to be taken to the hospital.
Researchers in Washington telling ABC News their analysis of samples of the virus strongly suggests it's been spreading in this state for the past 6 weeks. In New York City, a woman in her 30s is self-quarantined in her Manhattan apartment, contracting the virus after traveling to Iran. New York's mayor tweeting, "We have said it was a matter of when, not if, there would be a positive case of coronavirus in New York." In Rhode Island, a high school is shut down for the week. 2 people testing positive for the virus there after returning from a school trip to Italy.
The major task for us is to continue the extensive contact tracing work.
Several American universities abruptly ending their study abroad programs in countries where the virus is quickly spreading. A student at St. Mary's College is studying in Italy and being urged to return home.
We were asked to leave as soon as possible before anything got worse.
Fear of the virus contributing to scenes like this.
Hey, it's only one way. It's only one way to be covered from these diseases, man, from these pestilences. And that's through Yahweh Bashim Habashah, man. Okay? The only way you're going to be covered from these pestilences, man, is through Yahweh, man. Having mercy on you. Hey, you know, we always deal with herbs. And like me, I always say about food grade peroxide, right? You need to get up on that. The Kaleido Silver or the Kaleido Gold, you need to get up on that. Cause listen, man, you got the black wormwood, right? You got the black wormwood and walnut, the oil. You got black seed oil. These things you need to get up on, man. Now, over everything, you know, it's Yahweh that healeth, right? He woundeth and he healed. But man, it's even better, man, when you try to take it upon yourself to try to keep your immune system healthy, man. Like making a tea out of ginger root and turmeric root, man. When you drink ginger as a tea, you make it as a tea on a regular basis. That keep your immune system strong, man. See, this virus here is hitting people with weak immune system too, man. Hey, it probably hit people with strong immune system, but if you got a weak immune system, man, this will destroy you, man. Now, like I said, this is the will of the Heavenly Father Yahweh, man. Cause Jake is scattered all over the earth. So wherever Jake is scattered at, you Negro, Latino, Native Americans, the Lord is going to send these plagues over the four corners of the earth, man. Why? Because he's chasing, he's spreading down, he's chasing down you Negro, Latino, Native Americans, man. And anybody that's in the midst of that get killed, hey, casualties of war, man. But the Heavenly Father Yahweh is at the neck. He's at the neck of you Negro, Latino, Native Americans, man. And if you out there with a weak immune system, man, this is going to take you, man, by force. Hey, what it said in Psalm 68 and 20? From Yahweh is the issues from death, man.
Costco in Washington state, lines of shoppers were seen stocking up on necessities like wipes, toilet paper, and water. Public health officials reassuring Americans that 80% of cases of coronavirus are mild, and citing the low number of cases, they're calling for calm.
We're ramping up testing. You know, we now have 75,000 tests available out there in the United States, and over the next week that will expand radically.
The elderly and anyone with a weakened immune system is at high risk for the virus.
See? I just said that. You see?
But healthcare workers and first responders are finding themselves in vulnerable situations. A quarter of the 100...
I mean, but it's common sense, though, to know that, man. It's common sense. If you got a weak immune system, man, you will get caught out there, man. But guess what? If you don't have Yahweh, you're going to be destroyed, man.
100 firefighters here in the city of Kirkland are now under quarantine after being exposed to the virus at that nursing home facility not far from here. None of them are showing symptoms.
That's why Yahweh said, seek him while he may be found, man. Call upon him while he is near.
They're being closely monitored. Amy?
All right, Kaylee Hartung, thank you so much.
You see, man, this thing is serious, man.
Live from the world headquarters of RT America in our nation's capital, this is the news with Rick Sanchez.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rick Sanchez. You know, on most days, the news is a combination of good and bad. Today is not one of those days. Economically, markets all over the world still appear to be crashing. Geopolitically, the war in Syria is escalating, and dangerously so, with Turkey, Russia, and Syrian troops facing off. And on the health front, the coronavirus is spreading and on the verge of becoming a global pandemic. All of this.
You see that? I just read it to you, man. Jeremiah 28 and 8. And he just mentioned all of those things that's in Jeremiah 28 and 8. Let's read it again. Jeremiah 28 and 8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence, man. Everything is breaking out now, man. And these are just the beginning of sorrows, man. We're not even at the beginning of the sorrows yet, man. This is not even the beginning of sorrows, man, because this thing ain't even broke out yet.
Today, one day, that's the news. Let's start there with the coronavirus. Here's what you need to know. Japan. Parents were shocked to learn yesterday that schools are going to be shut down. Parts of the country are in a state of emergency. 13 million students are not going to be going to school. And the Summer Olympics, they might be canceled. In the United States, for the first time, a patient has been confirmed with the coronavirus with no known origin. That means this California man did not travel, has not been in contact with anyone known to carry the virus. He's quarantined while the CDC investigates further. Here's an important...
Hey, and just like the apostle said, man. Hey, it's cold in most of these states, man. It's cold in a lot of these states, right? So by it being cold, this virus ain't spread that much. Hey, wait till it get hot, man. Wait till it get dead hot and watch how quick this virus spread, man. See, it's still cold in a lot of these states, man. Okay, you know, cold keep down a lot of germs and bacteria, whatever. Wait till it be straight hot out here and see what happens, man. You Jays out here playing games. Hey, if you don't have the covering of Yahweh Shema Shah, if you have not repented for your sins, you will be a lost soul.
Important question. What is causing fears of a pandemic? The fact that many more cases are now being confirmed outside of China. That's why. South Korea, for example, it just announced 571 new cases this morning, bringing its total to 2,337, while China announced 327 new cases and 44 deaths. Among the countries reporting new cases today, France, Germany, Nigeria. However, the big three remain China, Iran, Italy, where emergency measures are now being implemented. Now, all of this is causing a worldwide market plunge, which some are calling a panic. The Dow was down 1,200 points yesterday, and it's looking really bad today. Somewhere pretty much near that vicinity, right? And it's capping probably the worst 4 days that we've seen since the 2008 economic meltdown. In fact, it is. NASDAQ also closed down by considerable amounts. And it's important to note that both European and Asian markets are also plunging as we speak. But maybe the worst news in all of this is something you don't hear a lot about, and that's that the 10-year yield is also at a record low, and that implies the situation is not just tied to the coronavirus, but to other inherent problems in our economies like enormous debt. Where have you heard that before? Now, all of this is happening as Turkey threatens more attacks against Syrian troops. The situation in Idlib province got really dicey yesterday when almost 30 Turkish soldiers were killed in a Syrian attack, possibly.
Now he mentioned about the debt, man. Right? Habakkuk 2:6. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, which is happening? Everybody taking up a parable against the wicked, and they turn the proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long? And to him that laden himself with thick clay. That laden himself with thick clay, meaning debt, man, which you just heard him mention, man. Everything is taking flight right now, man. In Babylon the Great and around the world, man.
Coordinated with a Russian airstrike. Uh-oh. Russia appears to be resolute in its position to defend the Syrian government. And Turkey, conversely.
And Russia is its own superpower, just like North America is, man. That's why Russia is not joined to EU or NATO, man. They are their own superpower, man.
Feels compelled to attack. That's a dangerous cocktail, folks. So we're going to get into that in just a minute. Now, remember, you can catch all of this information about what's going on regarding the latest on the coronavirus on portable TV, especially our coverage of the virus itself and the latest developments. And you can find it each and every day, 24/7. Just do this. Go to portable TV, click the icon that says tracking coronavirus, right? And there you'll get not just the spin and the politics, but what the real experts are saying and thinking about this situation. You know, as a veteran newsman, I've seen my share of bad news. But I got to tell you, today seems to be bad news coming in droves. Our job is to bring it to you, and that's what we're going to do right here on the News with Rick Sanchez, where we believe it's time to do news again. Okay, here we go. The list of questions we think you'll be asking tomorrow after watching our newscast tonight. We're going to begin with Turkey. Is Turkey ready to ramp up its attacks as the world looks the other way? How is Russia, with its huge border with China, keeping the virus count so low? And will the virus and economic scares be used to diminish our freedoms again? That's a great segment. I guarantee you're going to like it. Stick around. But we're going to begin with the very latest on the stock market and new signs, as we've been reporting this week, that this is not just about the coronavirus. See, here's what might be going on here. There might be some pent-up issues. Debt, interest rates, Fed manipulation, extremely low 10 and 30-year yields that many have been screaming about, but nobody seemed to listen until maybe now. My colleague Scotty Nell Hughes is at the CPAC conference, where conservatives meet once a year, here in Washington, D.C. Scotty, what are they saying there? How would you gauge the level of concern over what's going on?
Well, it's interesting, Rick. You know, the market's had another devastating day, just like you've pointed out, and it's not hard to find reasons why people are panicking. But people here at CPAC 2020 actually say this is just another day in the president's life and a good reason why we have a businessman in our office.
Facing a pandemic crisis right now, and obviously it's got to be dealt with, but I think the government's doing it as best they can, and hopefully find either a cure or a way to mitigate it, and everything will react. Markets go up and down, and this is obviously not a great day for the market unless you're buying stocks. The markets go up and down, and so the economy overall is strong, and the fundamentals of it are strong, so we're continue to see manufacturing go up, unemployment's down. So as long as the fundamentals stay strong, we're in good shape, and right now you got the vice president leading the response.
That devil just lied and said unemployment is down. Unemployment ain't down. If it was down, it wouldn't be no homeless people on the streets, man.
Coordinating the whole of government, so we're in great shape.
Well, now that Sean Spicer talking exclusive.
And yeah, they are in great shape, man. They is in great shape. You know who's in great shape? The elite, man. The rich, the wealthy. Yeah, they are in great shape, man.
Here on the news with Rick Sanchez, like to stay ahead of the curve, as we like to say. And knowing that it's at times like these, times of worrisome news, right? Whether it's wars or in this case, a potential stock market crash, and a potential worldwide pandemic, that is when we believe as journalists and as citizens that we probably should be most vigilant about our individual liberties. Why? Because this has happened before. In fact, it's still happening. You know, John Whitehead, he's a civil liberties attorney. He's the president of the Rutherford Institute and the author of Battlefield America, The War on the American People. Now, you don't have to be that old, by the way, Mr. Whitehead, to know that in our last major crisis, the thing called 9/11, somehow we were the ones, not the people who attacked us. We, as Americans, ended up losing many of our freedoms, Patriot Act, etc. Here we are now in a similar situation where we have a potential pandemic, where our privacy is obviously going to be affected. We have a potential stock market crash. Are you as worried about this, and should we be vigilant, and why?
Well, you have to be vigilant because the way the surveillance state operates now, I call us one nation under surveillance, basically. Everything we're doing is being watched. The NSA is downloading 2 billion emails daily. They're watching everything we're doing. Facebook, your photos at DMV are being given over to the government. At least 50% of Americans now are on a facial recognition database. So we're in a mess, you know, and you have the government's paranoid about veterans coming back from overseas. They have a program called Operation Vigilant Eagle, where they're watching all types of whatever veterans say on Facebook or their emails, and we defend cases where veterans are arrested for that, but at the Rutherford Institute. But yeah,
as the scripture say, man, Daniel 12:4, but thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. These devils have increased their knowledge through the spirit of Yahweh with technology, man. Okay? You heard what Esau said. We are one nation under the eye, man. Of who? That all seeing eye, the Illuminati, man, the elites, man. We are being watched, man.
I think we should really be worried because whether or not it becomes a real, whatever you call, virus or scare, there are people in government that take advantage of it. And what I see in the American government today is there's a bit of paranoia about American citizens and people who are opposed to government. Anybody that says, I don't like the way the government's operating, I don't like the president, I don't like Congress, automatically goes on a watch list. And we've had some cases where the police show up with the Department of Homeland Security and drag people out of their home for doing.
And guess what? They got a green They got an orange and red, green and blue list, man. Red, orange, green, and blue. And you are on the list, man. You heard what he just said, man. When you watch that movie, it's a good movie called Darkest Mind. Okay? You got the red and orange and the green and blue, man. The green and blue they can control, but the red and orange, they had to get rid of them, man. Because their powers were too great. They couldn't control them. They have a list, man. And each one of you Negro, Latino, Native Americans are under that list, man. Under a different color.
Facebook post.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've heard you talk about this, and this is Operation Vigilant Eagle that most people don't know anything about. I want
Operation
them to know
Vigilant
about
Eagle.
That's why I'm glad you're here. Tell us.
Hey, he said Operation Vigilant Eagle. That goes along with Operation. You got Rex 84. You got the Project Megiddo, right? Operation Cable Splice. Operation Garden Plot. All these operations, man.
It's about Operation Vigilant Eagle and what it really is.
Wow.
It's a Department of Homeland Security program, DHS. They're watching returning veterans. Again, one of the classic case we had was with a young Marine named Brandon Robb, who 26-year-old decorated Marine, by the way, took weapons away from Al-Qaeda, defused mines for his fellow soldiers, was at his home near Richmond, Virginia, typing one morning after jogging on his home business he was doing. He heard a weird noise outside. He looks out his door, and there's cop cars pulling up.
So you got King Alfred Plan, Project Megiddo, Operation Cable Splice, Rex 84. All these different plans, man. To do what? To destroy you Negro, Latino, and Americans, man. Because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. It's about you. You kings. You priests. You prince. And the princesses, man.
Outside, and people in black suits with the black ties running toward his home. Comes as a SWAT team and accompanied with federal agents from all the agents, FBI, and they swarmed his home, and he goes, "What's wrong? What did I do?" And he didn't own a weapon, by the way. That was the key. And they said, "We don't like your Facebook post. Or something. Some of the things you're saying were very concerning. Wow. Could you step?" He stepped out. They grabbed him, handcuffed him behind his back like that. Slammed him against the fence, cut his back, took him to the police station. He had a 5-minute examination in a jail cell by a psychiatrist. Mr. Robb, Brandon, was he's a 9/11 truther, and the psychiatrist said because he was that, he obviously was mentally ill. He was put in the mental hospital. We had to file a lawsuit to get him out. What was amazing, though, and I found out about this, is that these are called civil commitments. 20,000 alone in Virginia, where he was at. 1.5 million in America, 1.5 million a year. People are disappearing into these hospitals because they're arrested for something they might be saying.
But in the pretext,
this is in America.
The pretext is Vigilant Eagle, that they arrest these people for these types of things.
Operation Vigilant Eagle, yeah, they're watching. And again, I have these
Operation Vigilant Eagle, man.
Another case we have.
No, why would they use eagle? Because that's their logo. Since the Greek Empire, it's been the eagle, man.
And they show up and they're going to take him out of the country. They said this is a decorated veteran.
And in this country, but the point is, right? In this country, you have a right to be dumb, you have a right to be stupid, and you have a right to be insulting. And nobody has a right to come and take you to prison or jail.
You have a right to say what's on your mind.
To say what you think, as long as you're not. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Good. Hey, listen, we're out of time. Good segment.
We have a First Amendment. It says that. Yes.
Yeah, it certainly does, and I'm glad you're standing up for it. Thank you so much, Mr. Whitehead. We appreciate your time.
You see, man? You see? Let's go back to this, man.
Can make money cheaper, they can lower interest rates, but since it's a supply side issue, not a demand side issue, cheap money doesn't really help that much.
So where do you see things going from here?
Well, we're going to see more earthquakes, if you will, economic earthquakes, and while people stop traveling, the airlines are in trouble. The oil price is dropping because demand is low. So there's a chain reaction that's going on that we're going to have to report on quite a lot in the next couple of months, I think.
And you'll be taking a closer look at that coming up on DW Business right after this show. Gerhard Alfers with us. Thank you. Well, the European Union has been presenting its response to the coronavirus crisis, and DW's Terry Schultz is following that story for us in Brussels. Hi, Terry. Good to see you. There has been a press conference. What has been announced?
The European Commission very much wants to give the appearance that while they're taking the corona infections very seriously, everything that can be under control is under control. So European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen was flanked by 5 commissioners from the economy, from home affairs, crisis response, transport, and health. And each one of them spoke to their own particular expertise. But they said that the response overall is being coordinated under 3 main pillars. And one is medical, one is mobility, and one is the economy. Now, it's important to point out that each member state has its own crisis response, and each one of them makes their own decisions. So the Commission is saying, hey, count on us for a certain amount of coordination, but we don't make the decisions for member states. They also wanted to update the figures on infections. There are now 2,100 confirmed cases across 18 member states and 38 deaths.
Terry, what is at stake here for the EU?
The Economics Commissioner, Paolo Gentiloni, said that the stakes are very high economically. He said that early expectations that there would be a fast drop followed by a fast recovery may have been too optimistic, because we certainly don't know that we've seen the end of it yet, that there's any containment in sight yet. And of course, he spoke about the fact that when China is suffering something like this, of course it impacts the European Union. And that's not the only place. You have a lot of very worried citizens. And each commissioner said in their own way, don't panic. But you have a lot of travelers who are either having their flights canceled or canceling the flights themselves, and there are a lot of questions about what kind of compensation might be available. And it looks like this is going to be one of those sort of acts of God situations where you're not going to get compensated. So there were a lot of questions at this press conference that went on almost an hour, and there will be many more questions to come. But the main message right now is don't panic. We've got we've got control of everything that can be under control, and we're watching very carefully. And there is now a new website where people can get all of the up-to-date information from the Europe.
Everything is by the hand of Yahweh, man. Everything, man. If there's evil in the city, our Lord had done it, man. Amos 3:6. But you got this devil here that says,
but to embrace the possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom and their predictions of the apocalypse.
hey, man, it's going down, man. Thus saith the Lord. It's going down, man. Okay? Hey, so Lord witness edifying. Gotta give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rikah Korash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, who teach well, and a sincere salutation to all the occupants pushing this truth and believing this truth. Throughout the 4 winds of the earth, the entire world, waking up the hopefully elect. And shalom to the Akwaf who are listening and learning. A few sisters who are listening and learning. Hey, everything is playing out, man. Everything. Okay? The only ones that don't realize that these things is playing out is 2/3 of Israel, man. Why? Because the Lord have them blinded, man. Seeing they see not, and hearing they hear not. One more time. One more time what this devil said. What?
But to embrace the possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom and their predictions of the apocalypse.
Hey, Shalom.